Hey folks, this is a brief tutorial on how to create a multi-boot flash drive that you can use to install ISOs, technical term, for a variety of different Linux operating distributions onto one flash drive. And then when you start up your computer, you can select which one you'd like to boot. Interesting thing about this is that it will not change the operating system that you have on the computer. So you're simply choosing to boot off of the flash drive itself. Easier to demonstrate, to have you understand, than it is for me to explain. So what I want to do now is I'm going to just show you the process here from scratch. So this is my PC, and I have a flash drive that's in there right now. I'm just going to eject it. So let's get rid of it. The reason why we eject things in Windows is just in case there was a process or a file that was being used there. If there is no process or file that's being used on the flash drive, it's not necessarily an absolute that you have to formally eject it. But I like to do it anyway, just to get in a good habit. I just put in the flash drive and it's going to show back up here, and it's called MultiBoot. I'm going to do this from scratch. So just pretend like this is a brand new flash drive you bought from Walmart. So I've already downloaded and installed on my computer the tool that we're going to use for this process, and it's called YUMI. What does that stand for? I don't think I know. But I think that's the most important part that you see there, is that it's from pendrivelinux.com. I've been using this for quite some time. Fairly straightforward. And I'm using a Windows computer right now. And if you're using a Linux computer and you're trying to do that, or do what I'm doing right now, the process is slightly different. And I do have a video that I can share with you to show you how to use this tool on Linux. Again, I'm on Windows 10. So this is what it looks like. So the first thing you have to do is you actually, they kind of don't tell you this, you need to have a Linux distribution already. And I happen to have already downloaded several. I have Kali Linux downloaded, I have Linux Mint downloaded, and I have Ubuntu downloaded. And these are all considered disk image files. And so what that means is typically, not always, they end in .iso. If you're using a Mac, sometimes it's a DMGs. If you're using, it could be a lot of different things, but ISO is kind of a pretty standard way of sharing these distributions. YUMI is the tool that we're using for this, and this is a Windows tool, so it ends in .exe, which means it's an application. So I've already launched that down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the letter of my USB drive. And this happens to be MultiBoot, and it looks like it's got about 28 gigs free on it. So I can see if there's something on it already, and there's nothing. I don't have anything on there. I'm going to select a type of Linux or tool to install on this drive. Okay, and you can see that Ubuntu is fairly common and it's listed first. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the place where this Ubuntu thing lives, which is in that downloads folder, which is over there on the right. And here it is. Ubuntu 20.04.3. It's an ISO file. I'm going to open it up. Ubuntu is already on E. Please remove it first. Okay, so it thinks that it's already there. And I'm going to do this. So whenever I run into this sort of thing, I'm just going to delete this and I'll format the drive again from scratch. Okay, and I'll call this blank. How about that? We'll make it blank drive. And that way we're just starting from scratch. It's formatting, it's formatting, it's formatting, it's done. And now, if I go back to my YUMI, whoop, spell it right, YUMI, I didn't wait long enough, sorry about that. There it is. Yes, we'll go back, we'll do the same thing over again. I agree. Pick the disk, pick Ubuntu, find Ubuntu, and now this section here at the bottom where it says set a persistent file size for storing changes. So this is the live part of the drive. And so if you're going to save changes and you're going to boot off of a flash drive and not install it onto a computer, you're going to have to give yourself, I'll give it about a gig. So 1024 megabytes would equal a gigabyte. I'm a little over it. That's fine. It doesn't really matter. So now let's just see what happens when I choose to create. So it gives us YUMI is ready to perform. Create a syslinux MBR on E. Okay, so it's going to overwrite just about everything that's on this disk right now. Are you absolutely positive this is the correct device? And I am, because I've only got one device in there, and I'm going to choose yes. So now we're just going to get kind of some feedback on how this is going to work. We could set it up to go into the background, so I'm not going to look at this little progress bar, but this isn't so bad. I think when you're first doing this, you should probably have a pretty decent idea of how this is going to work and how it's going to operate. I'm not going to force you to sit through this entire thing, but it gives you some of the speed, the total size of what you're trying to accomplish, how much time has taken place, and how much time you're going to need. So 10, 12 minutes is probably about how much time you're going to need to create an installer for, or a live boot disk for Ubuntu. Some of these ISOs are much smaller in size, and so they may actually happen much more quickly. And you can see the progress here. So, and my flash drive is kind of going silly right now. And I think I'm going to pause this and we'll pick back up here in just a few minutes so you can kind of see where it goes from here. Okay, we're back here, and if you were paying any attention before, you should have seen that it had originally thought that this was going to take somewhere between 14 and 20 minutes to complete. And if you look at the progress panel right now, you'll see it really didn't take that long. And part of the reason is I'm using a USB 3.0 flash drive, and I have it plugged into a USB 3.0 port, and I'm using a fairly fast SSD inside of the computer. So we're shortcutting some of the time here that it would normally take. And it'll be finished here in just a few seconds. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take this flash drive and we're going to add another distribution to it. So this one was Ubuntu, and I think we'll put Linux Mint on this and see what that does as soon as this process is finished. It should ask us, do we want to put another distribution on this flash drive right after this finishes. So we'll see if that's what it does. I don't do this every day, but I whenever I'm working with Linux, for demonstration purposes, instructional purposes, any of those sorts of things, um, I'm, I'm I'm making quite a few of these flash drives. If I'm going to be working with Linux a lot, I may choose to do what's called a bare metal install, and that's something you could use this flash drive for as well. In other words, to literally install it onto a computer. That's how we used to do it. We might, format the drive and have a couple of partitions and have a couple of different operating systems on it. I kind of don't do that much anymore. If I'm going to be needing a lot of flexibility, I'll get a super nice flash drive that's pretty large, and I'll give it a quite a bit of space to be able to store my files on it. In this case, I gave it about a gigabyte. Um, if I were going to be doing this for real, I might give myself more storage space than that. The other thing that I've begun to do a lot more of is I store a lot of files in the cloud now, and so I don't need as much local storage space as we used to. So if you're looking at the elapsed time up there in the upper left corner, looks like this one took about 7, 8 minutes or so at this point, and we're just about done. I'll produce a separate video showing how this actually is used in the real world. So this is mostly how to get things created. And again, this is YUMI, and it's from Pendrive Linux, and I have a lot of these softwares that are available in our shared Computer Tech Lab Google Drive. So if you've not seen that video or you don't know where it's at, let me know and I'll point you in the right direction. Sometimes downloading software from random websites can be a little dangerous, maybe one of the more dangerous things you do. So if you're unsure or not sure how to check those softwares, let me know. I don't think anything is 100% safe these days, but having somebody who can help guide you would probably be a great way to go, especially in the beginning. So there's the pendrivelinux.com website that you can kind of see there. So it looks like we are just about done. And then let's see if it flashes up with, do you want to, okay, it's creating a persistent file, and that's that section that I gave to it that was about a gigabyte, and that's for me, for my files. So if I want to store a picture, it will allow that to remain on the flash drive even after I eject it, shut down the operating system, and go on vacation. So that stuff will be on that flash drive. So it looks like right now what's happening is there's a temp file that it's moving from the hard drive into the flash drive. So I'm not precisely sure what that is doing in the background, but you can kind of see this part of the process. I'm going to pause this, just you don't need to bother with this. I'll just resume the video here in a second. Okay, folks, so that just finished up, so that's great. And that is not referring to me. That is not me. That's under a different mat. But you can kind of see that this is all finished up. And if we choose next, would you like to add more distros now on E? And let's say yes, so you can kind of see how this works. So we're going to go back. We're going to go find that same flash drive. And we don't really want to view the distros on the flash drive, but we could. All right, let's just go see. It's going to show up the Ubuntu that we just installed. So we don't want to do that. We don't care about that. This time we're going to try to find, well, let's see what else we have over here. How about Linux Mint or Kali? Let's see which one works. Okay, let's find. We'll see if we can find Kali down here. So Kali is underneath of the other OS tools. It's technically, wait a minute, is it there? No, it's not. It used to be there. Other OS tools. I thought it was going to be there. It looks like it got moved. Not there. Not under antivirus. Not under other distros. Not under Puppy. Okay, I'm not seeing it. Well, I guess if that's the case, we'll probably try to find Linux Mint. So this is probably the hardest part of it, is to simply find the type of distribution you have. And I'm looking. So we definitely don't want to use any of the Windows things, and I'll explain why eventually. Mint. Where is Mint? Okay, Linux Mint, right before our eyes. So we'll find Mint. We'll open that up. We'll make a persistent. Sure. How about it? How about that? We're going to do the same thing here. And let's see how long this one's going to take to build. Linux Mint shouldn't be as complete as Ubuntu. So Linux Mint is a subset of Ubuntu. So it's kind of based off of Ubuntu, but some of the features and pieces and parts are maybe missing. So I tend to, if I'm going to use an Ubuntu derivative, I'm probably just going to use Ubuntu, but we'll get into a little bit more of, testing out different distributions as we go forward. So this one is Linux Mint 21, and it's considered mate, 64-bit ISO. You can see all that stuff right there. So it's copying the ISO file right now, and I'm going to pause, and we'll rejoin this shortly. Hey folks, that actually finished up pretty quickly. It behaved a little bit differently than the previous Ubuntu. It never gave the little background panel, and it was much quicker in terms of the amount of time that it took. So if I choose next, would you like to add more distros? We'll say no. We'll choose finish. And so our flash drive should be ready for us to go. So I'm going to go over to my File Explorer, and let's see what's in the Multiboot now. I'm going to eject it. Or try to eject it. Looks like it is no longer there. No, it's still there. So let's see if we can eject it. It's not there. Okay, I'm going to pull it. I'm going to pop it back in. Okay, so it has my flash drive back in here now. So you can kind of see where it's located. And I'm going to open up YUMI one more time. and just verify since I removed and re-added the device. And there's YUMI, and I agree. Show the drives. There's the drive. So I have two drives. I want the MultiBoot drive, and I'm going to view the distributions that are here. And you can see I have the Ubuntu and the Linux Mint located here. So I'm going to call that done. We'll have a separate video on how to boot using this YUMI flash drive multi-boot tool. We could add more distributions if we wanted to. There are some other ways for us to go about doing this as well. So stay tuned for more, and we will talk soon. Thanks.